ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Today, Conor Lamb wins a Pennsylvania House seat, and it should be pretty interesting from here on out. How are we handling this? Senator Doug Jones' grassroots supporters ask him to withdraw support from a deregulation bill of the banks, and is he going to do it? By the way, Doug Jones, one of the most Republican Democrats in Congress already. Under Trump, the U.S. still leads the world's arms exporters, and Yemenis are still paying the price. We're going to how that's happening last in a very, very important story, so we really, really want you to stick around for that, because in the span of 30 minutes, we're only going to do a lot. So, anyway, yeah, that's probably the most important thing for the long term that we're going to do today, like civil rights, humanitarian-wise. But in terms of elections here on the ground, there is going to be something very important. There's going to be something very important we're going to have to deal with, and that is Conor Lamb, a Democrat, former Marine, scored a razor-thin but extraordinary upset in a special House election in southwestern Pennsylvania after a few thousand absentee ballots cemented the Democratic victory in the heart of President Trump's Rust Belt base. So the Republican candidate Rick Saccone may still contest the outcome, but Lamb's 627-vote lead Wednesday afternoon appeared insurmountable, which is kind of funny because it's 627, given the four counties in Pennsylvania's 18th district leave about 500 provisional, military, and other absentee ballots left to count, election officials said. So the slim margin and almost 230,000 ballots cast in a district that Trump carried by nearly 20 percentage points in 2016, nonetheless upended the political landscape ahead of November's midterm elections. It emboldened Democrats to run maverick campaigns in deep red areas where Republicans remain bedeviled by Trump's unpopularity. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the thing that's happening. They had a lot of times where some of the easiest districts, the CCC, which just wasn't putting anyone out there, but now they know they can. And I think if we do get to win, if we get to a point where we can win these elections, I'm saying, sure, that would be pretty nice. I mean, I would like to live in a world where the Democrats are winning these elections. But what I would really like to live in is a world where the Democrats are actually going to fight for policy and important and substantive policy changes like that. So that would be probably pretty important. So Republican officials in Washington said they are likely to demand a recount through litigation, and the National Republican Congressional Committee put out a call for voters to report any irregularities in the ballot. Matt Gorman, the spokesman for the committee, said the party was still not conceding anything. So, I mean, it looks like you want because these recounts almost never change, but we will see because it's that close of a vote count right now. So the battle for a district in suburban and rural areas around Pittsburgh underscored the degree to which Trump's appeal had receded across the country, and it exposed the ways in which both parties are weighed down by divisive leaders. Democrats by Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, and Republicans by Donald Trump and Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House. I don't know why Nancy Pelosi is so very divisive, because if you look at her record, it's not very progressive. I mean, I would understand if Bernie Sanders was divisive, because he's very progressive, and that may seem a little bit crazy at first to some people, but when he starts to speak, he actually seems to try and kind of make sense. But I just do not get it with Nancy Pelosi. She's not even a very energetic speaker. She's just kind of there. And she's just like, hey, I'm here. Is it because she's a woman? I mean, I am literally at a loss for words about why she is so feared. She's so hated by the Republicans. Because she's not even that. She's just like, we need to beat Donald Trump and investigate Russia. And that seems to be her most important role in the Democratic Party. But, I mean, publicly anyway. Who knows what she's doing behind the scenes. She's apparently a pretty big fundraiser. So maybe that's why. But I don't really know. I mean, the Republican voters won't feel that bad about fundraising. I just do not get why Nancy Pelosi is so divisive. I do not see it. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, in Pennsylvania, Lamb, a 33-year-old former prosecutor from a local Democratic dynasty, presented. That's great. That's great. We got a Democratic dynasty going on. Presented himself as an independent-minded and neighborly, independent-minded and neighborly, vowing that he would not support Miss Pelosi to lead the House Democrats, and playing down his connection to the National Party. I don't. Is it from a point like the question I have here is, why did you not support Nancy Pelosi? Was it because she was too Democratic? Was it because she was too Republican? I could get behind the idea that she was too much of a corporate centrist, but we will see. House Democrats and he played down his conditions to the National Party. He echoed traditional Democratic themes about union rights and economic fairness, but took a more conservative position on the hot-button issue of guns. Oh dear. And yes, that's a face palm right there. Guns. Pretty much my take on guns is there's so much momentum for you as a Democrat, especially. We need literally all the help we can get. And by the way, who knows how he's going to act when he gets in there. But I'm sure Conor Lamb will be probably watched pretty closely by the media. But if they, I don't know, at least by the some people in the progressive media, to see how he actually turns out. But if he votes on some, God forbid if they actually do anything on guns, but if he votes on some kind of gun passage bill, it'd be very interesting to see how he votes on that, because of all the momentum behind him as a Democrat. You literally have no excuse not to vote for guns. I'm sorry, okay? Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. So throughout the race, Lamb said he welcomed support from people who voted for Trump, but saved his most blunt criticism for Paul Ryan, highlighting the speaker's ambitions to overhaul Social Security and Medicare. That to me is a good campaign strategy, because people happen to like these things. That's going to bring a lot of people in, and people have worked hard for these entitlement reforms. And I mean, it's something that when people try to take them away, and if you paint Paul Ryan as that's actually a very effective thing to do on the campaign. So that's something I like. His approach, though, could become a template for a cluster of more moderate Democrats contesting conservative seats in places like Arkansas, Kansas, and Utah. Democrats in Washington have focused chiefly on the Republican-held seats in upscale suburbs where Trump is most intensely disliked. But they're hungry for gains across the political map. Bernie Sanders kind of leading that all 50 states effort there, which is going to be very good. And in red areas, they have encouraged candidates to put the local imperatives above fealty to the National Party, even tolerating outright disavowals of Nancy Pelosi. I would agree. The only criticism I would agree with her is she was too right, and the fact that she's too centrist, she's too just not there for the Democrats and not there for the Democratic Party. But because she's endorsing here Dan Lipinski, who's an anti-LGBT, anti-abortion Democrat. You heard me right, Democrat here. And that to me is a real bad sign for Nancy Pelosi. Representative Cherry Bustos of Illinois, a Democrat who represents a farm and manufacturing district in Trump narrowly carried, said the party as recruit should feel free to oppose Pelosi if they choose. She noted that she was helping one anti-Pelosi candidate, Paul Davis of Kansas, who was in Washington this week, raising money. But I just don't get why it doesn't say here why they are opposed to Nancy Pelosi in the way they are opposed to her. Is it because she is too right-wing, or is it because people just don't like her and want to oppose her for the sake of oppose her, but when they go to Washington, they're going to kiss up to her? Whether this is opposing her for fun, I really am lost at this point. She says Though, if they want someone else to be a leader, they ought to express that. I don't have a problem with that. Representative Mike Doyle of Pennsylvania, a veteran Democrat from the neighboring district, said Lamb had benefited from buyer's remorse among supporters who had wisely tailored his message to the conservative-leaning area. This guy's made a lot of promises that aren't being kept, Doyle said of the president. On the Republican side, Rick Saccone campaigned briefly as a stand-in for Trump, endorsing the president's agenda from top to bottom. He campaigned extensively with Trump, and the members of his administration relied heavily on campaign spending from outside Republican groups. The Koch brother that attempted to make Miss Pelosi a central voting issue. People, I don't know, they really hate her, but I mean, I'm not a fan. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi either, but it's not because she's too left wing and she's too lefty, but it's because she's too far to the right. I mean, supporting these things in the way she did is very, very, like Dan Lipinski. That to me is lately the biggest problem I have with the thing that she has done. Yeah, good old Chuck and Nancy in the White House. It's always interesting. So yet the Republicans' all-hands rescue mission was not enough to salvage Saccone's candidacy. Saccone has not conceded, and the Republicans have indicated they may challenge results through litigation, a pretty long-shot strategy at this point. So, yeah, there is that. So Conor Lamb wins, and a big Trump district turns out a big swing, and we'll be back with a story about Senator Doug Jones. He's not very good right now. And we'll get to him after this. This is the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Your show will return in just 4 minutes.
Hendo on the beat.